Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be hitting the road, you know, exploring the future of electric vehicles, EVs.
EVs, exactly.
And, specifically, we're going to be talking about something that could completely change the game, solid-state batteries.
Yeah, solid-state batteries, that's right. It's a topic that's generating a lot of buzz, and for good reason. Imagine an electric car that not only charges faster, but also has a longer range, potentially even outlasting your old gas guzzler.
Okay, so longer range, faster charging, that sounds incredible. But is it really possible? We've got some pretty dense research here, including some fascinating insights from CATL and BYD. Two major players in the battery world are both racing to bring solid-state batteries to market, but they're taking slightly different approaches.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is that both companies are betting big on what are called sulfide electrolytes, which could be a key to unlocking some seriously impressive energy density.
Now, I know you know your EVs, but for anyone just tuning in, energy density basically determines how much power you can pack into a battery. And CATL, they're aiming for a whopping 500 watt-hours per kilogram.
500 watt-hours per kilogram. To put that into perspective, that's like a 40% increase compared to the lithium-ion batteries in many of today's EVs. What that translates to for you is potentially driving 400 miles or more on a single charge.
Wow, that's a game changer for road trips. No more range anxiety, right?
Exactly. And it's not just about range. Faster charging times are also on the horizon. We're talking about potentially charging your EV in the time it takes to grab a coffee.
Okay, so we're talking about a future where EVs could have ranges comparable to gas-powered cars and charging times that are way faster. But how far off is this future? I mean, when can we actually expect to see these super batteries powering our EVs?
Well, both CATL and BYD are targeting mass production after 2030. But here's where it gets really interesting for you, especially if you're thinking about buying an EV today.
You're talking about the possibility of upgrading existing EVs with solid-state batteries down the line. Like giving your current EV a second life. That sounds amazing, but would it be super expensive?
It's definitely a possibility. Initially, yes, the costs will be higher, but BYD actually projects that solid-state batteries will reach a similar price point to the lithium iron phosphate batteries used in many EVs today, once they're produced at scale.
So it might not be as crazy expensive as we think. But let's talk about the technical side of things. Swapping out the battery pack sounds pretty complicated. What about the battery management system, the BMS? Would that need a complete overhaul?
The BMS is crucial because it essentially acts as the brain of the battery, managing its performance and safety. But here's the good news. Switching from current LFP batteries to solid state might not require a complete BMS replacement.
That's relief. So my current BMS might be able to handle a solid-state upgrade with just a few tweaks?
It's possible because solid-state batteries operate at similar voltages to LFP batteries. The BMS might only need some adjustments, particularly for things like thermal management, since solid-state batteries have different heat profiles.
So maybe some software updates or minor hardware modifications, but not a total system replacement. That's great news for anyone considering buying an EV in the near future.
And you brought up an important point earlier, the potential cost savings of upgrading your current EV rather than buying a whole new one when solid-state batteries hit the market. That could make a huge difference.
Absolutely. Now, we've been focusing on CATL and BYD, but they're not the only players in this game, right?
Definitely not. There's a whole ecosystem of companies and research institutions working on solid-state technology, each with their own unique approaches.
So it's a pretty competitive field.
It is, which is a good thing for consumers because it means there's a lot of innovation and investment happening to push this technology forward. Competition often breeds innovation, and that's exactly what we're seeing in the race to develop solid-state batteries.
And speaking of innovation, we know that CATL and BYD are focused on sulfide electrolytes. But are there other types of solid electrolytes being explored out there? What are the pros and cons of each?
That's a great question. Sulfides have shown a lot of promise, but they're not the only game in town. Some companies are looking at oxide electrolytes, which could potentially offer even higher energy density than sulfides.
Hold on, even higher than that 500 watt-hours per kilogram figure we were talking about earlier? That's mind-blowing.
It is, but oxide electrolytes come with their own challenges. They can be more expensive to produce and sometimes have stability issues.
So there's always a trade-off. Higher performance often comes with higher costs or technical hurdles. What about polymer electrolytes? I know those have been around for a while.
You're right, polymers have been in the game for a while. They're known for being flexible and relatively easy to manufacture, which could make them more cost-effective in the long run. But they haven't quite caught up to sulfides or oxides when it comes to energy density.
So it seems like there's no clear winner yet in the solid-state electrolyte race. It's still early days, and each type has its own strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly. And it'll be interesting to see which technology ultimately prevails, or if we might even see a combination of different approaches used in future batteries.
A hybrid solid-state battery. Now, that's a fascinating idea. It's like the best of all worlds, right? But, with all this talk about energy density and different electrolyte types, we haven't really touched on another crucial aspect, safety.
You're absolutely right. Safety is paramount when it comes to any battery technology, especially in electric vehicles. And this is another area where solid-state batteries could really shine.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit. How are solid-state batteries inherently safer than the lithium-ion batteries we have in EVs today?
One of the biggest advantages is that solid-state batteries eliminate the flammable liquid electrolytes found in current lithium-ion batteries. Those liquid electrolytes are a fire hazard, and we've all heard those stories about EV battery fires, even though they're still relatively rare.
So by replacing those flammable liquids with solid electrolytes, we're essentially removing a major fire risk.
Exactly. The inherent stability of solid electrolytes significantly reduces the risk of thermal runaway, which is what happens when a battery overheats and can potentially lead to a fire.
That's a huge plus, not just for peace of mind, but also for the overall development of EVs. If solid-state batteries are safer, does that mean they could also be designed to be lighter and more compact?
Absolutely. The absence of those flammable liquids opens up a whole new world of possibilities in terms of battery design. We could see lighter and more compact battery packs, which would further improve the efficiency and range of EVs.
Okay, so we've covered range charging, time safety, and the potential for lighter, more compact battery designs. It's clear that solid-state batteries have the potential to be a real game changer for the EV industry.
They do, and they could play a key role in accelerating the transition to a more sustainable transportation future.
I'm excited just thinking about it, but let's be realistic for a moment. We've touched on this before, but mass adoption of solid-state batteries is still a few years away. We're looking at the post-2030 timeframe, right?
That's the current projection. So for those in the market for an EV today, it's important to weigh their needs and priorities. If someone is looking for the absolute latest and greatest technology and is willing to wait, then holding out for a solid-state EV might be an option.
But for those who need a car now, there's no need to wait on the sidelines. The EVs available today are already pretty impressive, right?
Absolutely. The technology is advancing rapidly, and we're already seeing longer ranges, faster charging times, and lower prices with current lithium-ion batteries.
Plus, there's always the possibility of upgrading to a solid-state battery down the line if the technology and infrastructure are in place.
That's a great point, and it makes the decision-making process a bit easier for potential EV buyers today. You can get an EV now and potentially enjoy the benefits of solid-state technology later on.
So it's not an all-or-nothing situation. There are options available for everyone depending on their individual needs and circumstances.
Exactly. And with all the advancements happening in the EV space, it's an exciting time to be a part of this transition to a more sustainable future.
It really is. I was reading an article the other about how solid-state batteries could potentially have a lifespan of 20 years or more. That's incredible.
It is, and it raises some really interesting questions about the future of car ownership.
Like, will people hold onto their EVs for much longer periods if they know the batteries can last that long?
That's one possibility, and it could have significant implications for the automotive industry as a whole. Imagine a world where people aren't trading in their cars every few years.
That would be a major shift. And it makes you wonder about the environmental impact. If we're not constantly producing new cars that could significantly reduce our carbon footprint.
It's a fascinating thought, and it highlights how solid-state batteries could be much more than just a technological advancement. They could be a catalyst for broader societal changes.
Wow, that's a really insightful way to look at it. And it goes to show that sometimes the most exciting innovations are the ones that spark those bigger conversations and challenge our assumptions.
Absolutely, and that's what makes this whole field of electric vehicles and battery technology so compelling. It's not just about the technology itself, it's about the potential to create a more sustainable and equitable future for everyone.
Yeah, it really is amazing to think about all this, these ripples and how these technological advancements could affect so many different aspects of our lives.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating, right? It's not just about, the nuts and bolts of batteries. It's about envisioning the future and the possibilities that these innovations unlock.
And speaking of envisioning the future, I think it's time for us to put on our, prognostication hats. Try to answer that big question you posed earlier. If electric cars can truly last a lifetime with these new battery advancements, what does that mean for the future of transportation and our relationship with our vehicles?
Yeah, it's a question that deserves some serious thought, for sure. Will we see a shift away from the traditional car ownership model, towards more sustainable and shared mobility solutions?
Will we start to view our cars as more long-term investments, rather than disposable commodities that we trade in every few years.
Yeah, I mean, these are all valid questions, and I think the answers will likely depend on a complex interplay of factors, technological advancements, economic incentives, consumer preferences, even social norms.
But I think it's safe to say that, the transition to electric vehicles is well underway. And solid-state batteries have the potential to be a major catalyst for accelerating that transition.
Yeah, for sure, they could be a real game changer, not just for the automotive industry, but for the way we live, work, and move around in the world.
It's an exciting time to be following this space, and we can't wait to see what the future holds. But for now, let's bring this deep dive back to the present and recap some of the key takeaways for you, our listeners.
All right, so first and foremost, solid-state batteries hold immense promise for the future of electric vehicles. We're talking about potentially revolutionary advancements in range, charging time, and safety.
Imagine a world where electric cars can travel further on a single charge, recharge in a matter of minutes, and pose a significantly lower risk of battery fires.
Yeah, that's the kind of future that solid-state batteries could enable.
And while mass adoption is still a few years away, the progress being made by companies like CATL and BYD is truly remarkable. They're really pushing the boundaries of what's possible with battery technology. And their innovations are paving the way for a more sustainable and electrified future.
Yeah, and we also discussed the possibility of upgrading existing EVs with solid-state batteries, giving them a second life, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a really exciting prospect. It could make EV ownership even more appealing and cost-effective in the long run.
Of course, there are still challenges and uncertainties surrounding solid-state technology.
Right, the cost of production, the development of robust manufacturing processes, and the compatibility with existing EV infrastructure are all factors that need to be addressed.
But despite these challenges, the future of solid-state batteries looks bright.
And as research and development continue to accelerate, we can expect to see even more breakthroughs and innovations in the years to come.
So if you're an EV enthusiast or just someone who's curious about the future of transportation, we encourage you to stay informed and follow the developments in this exciting field.
Absolutely, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into solid-state batteries, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more explorations into fascinating topics like this.
We're always on the lookout for the next big thing, and we love sharing our discoveries with you.
Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.